All right, here we go. I got a big episode for you guys. We got Colby Covington is getting in on the action on Ian Garry, giving us a preview of what we could see at UFC 296. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about also Ian Garry rumored to have been knocked unconscious in practice at Kill Cliff. And guess what? They didn't say who did it. I found out who did it. And so I am going to share that exclusive story with you guys. I never get these, dude. I never get exclusive. That's not true, actually. I have gotten a bunch of exclusive stories, but you know what? I stuck them in my back pocket because I'm not going to drop a story that's going to turn me into an enemy. I would rather make friends. Friends make you money. Enemies do not. So it just is what it is. This is the first big exclusive story I'm going to drop on the channel, and everybody can go validate what I say afterwards. What's up? I know who knocked out Ian Garry. But to reiterate to the Ian Garry team, I am predicting you are going to be the world champion and you are going to stay the champion for a long time. I've never been more bullish on a person's career. This ain't me hating on you. It's just, listen, man, I'm running a business. I'm running a show. If I find out a thing like this, who would I be not to say it? But I am rooting for you, and I do think you're going all the way. I don't think being starched in practice means you're not going all the way. But yeah, then we're going to talk about Dillon Danis and the Dana White thing, because Dana White talked about whether or not he would sign Dillon Danis, and I want to talk about that subsequently. And I also got an update, exclusive update, about the Dillon Danis lawsuit being pushed by Nina and Logan. So it is going to be a big video, probably kind of long, and that's what we're going to do. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, shame on you. Genevieve, people are watching the channel without subscribing. Is that nice?
No, not nice.
Not even a little bit nice. Shame on you. Subscribe and like the video also if you're already subscribed, because it helps me. And that's the kind of thing that just puts juice in my veins to go get these exclusive stories. What are you talking about? Nothing, dude. So I've had a bunch of people reaching out to me lately. They're like anytime someone messages me to tell me that they really like my content, I just laugh. It's always really flattering, but it starts the same every single time. They're like, I really didn't know what to make of you at first, and now I think that I really, really like you. I just wanted to tell you that. Like literally every time. Like every time people are like, I really was not feeling you at first, but now I like you. So it's like, if you're still in the I hate you phase, I understand. But you'll come around, stop fast forwarding, okay? As long as you just stop, people are like, I always have to fast forward to find out what you're doing. I know, dude, but as soon as you actually start listening to my stuff, you'll be like, oh, okay, the entertainment is actually in him just talking nonsense. So just calm yourself down, and then you'll subscribe if you haven't done that yet. All right, so let's start right here. So here's what Colby said about Ian Garry, and then we're going to talk about who starched him. So here is what we're looking at, okay? He said, I know Ian Garry typically enjoys watching dominations like other men on his wife. So I'll know he'll be turned on backstage watching me dominate Leon Scott. So that is what Colby Covington has said. Now, why is that notable and why is that fantastic for Ian Garry? Simple answer to both. Because number one, we know what's coming at the UFC 296 press conference. How Ian Garry handles this press conference is going to be amazing. Because Colby Covington is going to spend half the time talking about Leon Edwards, but not really, because Leon Edwards is not a gamer, okay? Like, Leon Edwards is a phenomenal fighter. Certainly not a person I would ever want to find walking towards me with the intentions of kicking or punching my face. But in terms of a microphone match, he does not want it with me, dude. And he doesn't want it with Colby either. If we're just doing microphones and we're not going to beat each other up after, because I will defer. I will lose 1,000 out of 1,000 fights with Leon Edwards if we're in the octagon. And I will win 1,000 out of 1,000 if we're just talking to each other on microphones. Which is more valuable? Probably his. Nonetheless, when it comes to a press conference at UFC 296, Colby gonna eat him up, spit him out, and then he's going to move on to Ian because... What? Eon? Who the fuck is Eon? What? That's what happens if you combine Leon and Ian at the same time, and then you just come up with this non-existent human that is not capable of doing anything because it's not a real person. What? So he's going to move on to Ian Garry because Ian Garry has a lot more juicy stuff that Leon... What the fuck's wrong with you? That Colby can make fun of. Okay? So that's going to happen, and I would imagine anybody else who wants to get shots in and get a nice little promo cut, they're going to try to take shots at Ian. The thing is, though, I don't think it's going to rattle Ian. I really don't. And the reason this is great is because guess what? Leon Edwards is fighting Colby Covington for the welterweight title. Ian has a very winnable fight against Luque, and he is now one of the most followed stars in the welterweight division. What happens if Leon beats Colby? Who's he going to fight next? Answer, or certainly why would he fight Ian Garry is probably a better way of talking about it. Because of the whole narrative about them kicking Ian Garry out of the gym. That's all this business is. Find a story, a reason the two guys should fight, and then put them in there and fight. That's it. You know what I mean? If you have any misunderstanding, just go listen to Chael talk about this and take it all as absolute, bulletproof, impenetrable fact. Whenever he talks about why a fight should or shouldn't happen, I have a very hard time finding any time where he's saying something that's incorrect, and he always talks about that. It's conflict resolution. Why? It's either conflict resolution or what happens after. If this person wins this one, then what happens? Ultimately, it's why do we care, right? Why do we care? And so Leon versus Ian, that's easy. Ian, the young up-and-coming stud, was saying all the whatever. Leon and them kicked him out, so they couldn't work with any of the coaches. Now going back to that, well, hold on, let me finish the thought I'm saying. And now Colby is being like, you little cuck. Hey, you want to watch somebody take it out on your wife? She looks cool. Why don't you let a real man put it down on her little boy? How old are you, 26? 26-year-old doesn't know what to do with that booty. Let me handle that. Let me handle that for you, daddy. Let me handle that for you. You know she wants that anyway. She loves a bad boy American. That's exactly what I am. I'm going to put it down and dominate Leon, and then I'm going to go take your wife backstage. I'm going to put it down on her. How you like them? How you like them apples, Ian Garry? And boom, now you have conflict resolution again, regardless of who wins the fight. Leon wins, boom, renegade conflict. Colby wins, boom, he's talking shit about Ian's wife. You think Colby is unclear on what happens if he talks shit about Ian Garry, the hottest prospect in the division? Colby is a veteran. He knows exactly what he's doing. That is why he's doing it. Leon, whether they knew it or not, I'll go back to that in a second, actually, because I'll tell you exactly why they kicked him out of the gym in case you missed my last video on this. Jesse, when are you going to tell us who knocked out Ian? I'll tell you after this. Fucking relax. That's our second of 4 stories. Jesus. Calm down. This is not a TikTok channel, okay? That is not what this is. This is a long form channel. We're launching in January a much longer form channel where we'll talk about all kinds of things. But this is a long form channel. It's not for the goldfish, dude. Jesus. Anyway, but why don't you guys put in the comments who you'd rather see Ian Garry fight next? I'm genuinely very curious. But anywho, right? So what I believe happened when it comes to the Leon Edwards and Ian Garry gym situation is this. The reason why I believe that Ian Garry is going to be a world champion is because of how he speaks whenever he talks about fighting. Like, his life is fighting. That's all he is focused on. And when he talks about it, he says, I'm going to be the world champion. I'm not in any rush. When I win the title, I'm never going to lose it. I'm going to take a year off. I'm going to go down to Brazil. I'm going to go win ADCC. I'm going to become the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter in the world first. And then when you can match my striking being the best in the world with my grappling being best in the world, then what? Then where's my weakness? You can't take me to the ground. You can't fight me on the feet. I will be impenetrable. That is his plan. And when he says it, he believes it. And the difference is, I can tell the difference between the I believe that I was touched by destiny and the other kind, which is like, I'm going to go do the work, the specific work. Like I do believe that I was born to do this, but I'm going to do the work. There is no destiny involved, Now, the destiny belief is very powerful. I've talked about this a bunch of times. Like, it's very powerful if you believe that, like, you were born for this destiny. It's also very dangerous, though, because if you lose a couple fights in a row, it breaks your entire belief system, and now you have nothing underneath it. Like, it's like you have shattered the entire belief that sat underneath why you thought you were going to get to the end of the road, because it was based on destiny, not on, grinding and hard work, which that's what I hear from Ian Garry. He almost has both. So that is why I believe that. But here's the deal, dude. When he's at Renegade, I'm telling you, he's just talking about that all the time. Of course, if he talks about that anytime he's not in the gym, you think he's not saying, I'm going to be the world champion. I'm never going to lose. I'm not going to, you think he's not saying that to people that he trains with? Of course he is. Of course he says that. And he's training in Leon Edwards' gym. Leon Edwards is the fucking champion. So every time he says, I'm going to be the world champion, he's saying, I'm going to take what's Leon's. I'm going to take that from him. You think Leon is like, oh, I only want to hold this, for another couple of years. Leon never wants to fucking lose, ever. And you got this young buck who's really, really, really good. I'm going to take what's his. And then so like Leon's all, wait, so your end, I just want to make sure I understand. Your end goal is to be the welterweight champion. That's right. Now, you're not a permanent part of our team. Correct. So, you're not a permanent part of our team. That's right. I just want to come here and get some good work in. Okay. And what's your end goal? To be the welterweight champion of the world. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm the welterweight champion of the world. Right. Well, I'm not saying tomorrow. Right. But I think we all know that world championship skills are not developed in a day. So any skills that you gain here are going to be leveraged to take the championship from me, assuming that I don't lose to someone else. Why the fuck would we want you leveraging our value if what your end goal is to take what's ours? This is not fucking rocket science, dude. This is not rocket science. Ian was like, it's all built around insecurity. No, it's not. It's built on fucking common sense. Okay? It's built on common sense. Which brings us to what everybody's been asking for, and that is who knocked out Ian Garry in practice, and how do you even know someone knocked out Ian Garry in practice? Well, today at noon, this story came out where Brendan Allen has told MMA Orbit that someone at Kill Cliff slept Ian Garry in sparring, and he wasn't going to say who did it, but I found out who did it. Okay, but let's listen to him first. Ready? Boom.
Excuse he wants. And then you get things like someone posted a video of Shavkat and Jason wrestling. I was there on that day. I watched it. I was 2 feet from it. One, I feel how I feel about the video, but two, I think he commented somewhere on there. I heard someone say he commented somewhere on there. And it's he records everything, right? They record everything. But just know there's video, and he knows what name not to say to let it come out of what happened to him. I'm not going to release it, but just know there is someone in that gym that has slept him out. So for him to come in and say, oh, everyone knows how good he is striking and how good he is here and this and that and this and that. Yeah, he has.
All right. So that is what came out. Now, have I seen the video of him getting slept? No. Did I hear this from an extraordinarily very, very credible source? I did. If it ends up not being true, this guy could kick the living shit out of me, so I won't do anything about it. But I will at least tell you someone extremely credible told this to me, and so I'm going to tell you right now. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm not even going to say the name. I'm going to let you guys go on a treasure hunt, okay? So here are your clues of who is the culprit that knocked out Ian Garry, all right? So he is a current champion in another organization, okay? He has not lost. He's lost twice in the last 10 years, once due to an injury, and the second time due to a split decision. So, a current champion in another organization, only 2 losses since 2013, split decision and an injury, and he is not the same skin tone as me. He looks much more like Francis than he does me. And now you guys can go on your treasure hunt. It happened at Kill Cliff. He's black. He's only lost twice since 2013. He is a current champion in another organization, and those 2 losses were a split decision and an injury. Good luck on your treasure hunt. You guys can put in the comments who it is. So if you can't figure it out, don't blame me. So, yeah. Oh my God, Jesse, you said you were going to tell. I just fucking told you. It's just more fun this way. And then I don't have to say the guy's name because, I don't know, I just feel weird about it. I feel weird about having an exclusive. Okay? And the organization is not PFL. How about that? Or at least it's not under the actual PFL banner if it happened to be in an organization that PFL just bought. Now, if you can't figure it out now, I don't know what to tell you, dude. So that is what I've got. If it ends up not being true, like I said, person who told me could strangle me unconscious 1,000 different ways, but very credible. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't. Now let's move on to the other video. I already recorded this other video about Dillon Danis, what Danis said, and what's the other part? Oh yeah, the Nina Agdal and Logan Paul lawsuit. Maybe I should talk about that again right now. You know, I think I'm going to. I'm going to edit that part out. I'm going to talk about that right now. So Nina Agdal and Logan Paul have decided to move forward with a lawsuit against Dillon Danis. Now, what do I think about that decision? I think I could best characterize that as petty, pathetic, indefensible, and what's another word for pathetic? Look it up in synonyms in your Google. So, again, if you're moving on, I just found this out today that they are moving forward with his lawsuit. They are going to try to bankrupt Dillon Danis, who is a new father. You just beat him in the fight. Okay? Everything he did was in build up to the fight. He definitely put out a lot of content about Nina Agdal, which would be reprehensible if she had not herself put out all that content and done so many interviews where she made sexual references, including the one where she said she is so starving for penis. Oh my God. She actually said the words into a camera, if you know any dick that does not have an STD on it, I will take it. Those words came out of her own mouth, okay? She recorded this onto social media and said, any penis that does not have an STD on it, I'll take it. Now, was she serious? Probably not. I'm guessing that she probably wouldn't have fucked any dude that doesn't have an STD, but she still said it, okay? She said those words. She also had a video of her deep throating a popsicle. She also said to Rob Diedrich that she doesn't have a gag reflex. She also said that she fucked a guy in a full auditorium or a full stadium of people. She also said that she doesn't really think penises are super cute, so she prefers they hide them inside her. These are her own words. So Dillon Danis took all of that because I can imagine Logan probably did not know that when they got engaged, since he went on his podcast and said, she wouldn't sleep with me for 3 weeks, and I really appreciated that. Like, the more I thought about that, the more I felt for him, dude. Like I'm talking after the fight. I was so pissed. During the fight, like build up, because as soon as he started bragging about bankrupting Dillon Danis, that I couldn't even be rational, just because that hit such a strong nerve for me, where you're like, oh, you're going to bankrupt him and then you're going to garnish his wages. That seems like a reasonable thing to brag about. Like that's a reasonable thing. A dude who just sold his company for $10 billion. Oh, you're just going to bankrupt Dillon Danis? And I still do not understand how anyone is letting that slide. It doesn't make any sense to me. None. Makes no sense to me at all. And now Dillon Danis is saying that he's retiring from fighting? You think this guy really made enough money to retire from fighting? Of course not. So they're going to take a guy without income, and they're going to take all his money, not let him, take care of his kid. They're going to push this thing forward and try to break him financially, because he exposed a bunch of videos that she did herself. Like, every time I start talking about this, obviously, like, look at the tone of the rest of the video. Does this seem ungenuine to you? It's gross. And it is fucking pathetic, especially on Logan's part, because all he's doing is allowing his girl to be vindictive. Like, think about this for a second. Everybody's calling Ian Garry a cuck. I am not of that. I am not in that camp. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm not in that camp. Everything that she has said essentially makes sense. The moving in the ex-husband, again, I could see a reason that makes sense for them. I wouldn't do it myself, but to keep all the kids together, that all makes sense to me. She started talking defamation. She pretended to be Ian Garry in the DMs to Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland exposed it. Ian Garry, not only, he did not expose that I didn't fucking write that, my wife did. He took that one on the chin. He doesn't look rattled at all. But that conversation stopped immediately. As soon as DC was like, we don't do lawsuits. I'm going to, like, all of us have obviously been like, you do a lawsuit, pathetic. But DC immediately was like, lawsuits, not happening. And he did that because of what happened with Nina and Dillon Danis. Now, defending Dillon Danis was a little bit different then, because it wasn't in the UFC, first of all. It was kind of like new territory, I guess. And it's like Dillon is like, you know, he's obviously a combat sports athlete, but he's never fought in the UFC. He had been out of the game for a while. It's almost like he was kind of like an influencer to the broader MMA community. But because of how that played out, as soon as Ian's wife started saying that stuff, you know, a person like DC with tremendous influence in the industry is like, no, there's no lawsuits happening in mixed martial arts. That's not a thing that's going to happen. And boom, the conversation's over. Okay. I'm not going to take any credit for that. Obviously, I said the same thing. I'm going to take zero credit for that. They don't give a fuck what I think. But DC says it. That's a different ballgame. Okay. DC can speak for the MMA community. You know, they're like, oh shit. If DC's saying this, you know, Ian goes, this conversation is over. Obviously, Ian is the one that stuck a pin in that, which certainly would drive against him being a total cuck, right? He stuck a pin in that. No more of that talk. You want to put a statement out, I'll help you. You want to do this, I'll help you. Yada, yada, yada. He's on that, right? But Logan now, okay? Logan is letting Nina move forward with the lawsuit after this is all over. Still, you fought, you won, and you're still letting her drive this ship to bankrupt a guy when you just sold your company for $10 billion. It's pathetic, dude. Like Ian Garry's a cuck? No, he's not. I mean, it's a weird situation with the ex-husband. I don't know anything about it. You want to know what's cuck shit? That. Logan Paul allowing Nina to drive this lawsuit forward. It's fucking pathetic. You already fought him. You won. What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? You know? Like, am I some guy who trashes people for clout? I literally just submitted a fucking video to the Jake Paul media star thing where I, you know, was like, oh, Jake Paul punched Ben Askren so hard it fucking broke his brain. Like, am I some fucking Paul brothers hater? Obviously not. I am speaking specifically about moving forward with a fucking lawsuit against a guy you already fought and beat. If you're going to sue him for smashing a microphone on your fucking face. Not for blowing up your fiance's fake story about how she was like the most pure, she was pure as the driven snow. Like, dude, there's nothing wrong with marrying a girl who said she knows how to deep throat in a bunch of videos. Who gives a shit? Who fucking cares? If she said that once she's married to you, that is different. Who cares what she said prior to that? It does not matter. It doesn't actually expose anything. You guys could you could have just been like, dude, I don't give a shit. I don't care if she fucked Leo and 25 of his friends on the same night. I love the girl. I don't care. That's the end of it. Like, that's the end of it. It only matters if you are delusional about who she is and she's lying to you, and then you're going to like, no, I think she only had sex with like 3 guys. That's the only way people are going to make fun of you. All you have to do is just own it, and it's over. Okay? She misrepresented herself. She got caught. Now, obviously, it went viral and it got a little bit gnarly, but lawsuits, and now it's over. The whole thing's fucking over. And you're going to let her break him financially? It's fucking bullshit. Get a hold of your fucking girl and get rid of that goddamn lawsuit. And again, it's not like anybody gives a shit. It's not like he gives a fuck what I think. But again, I don't understand why people with more influence are allowing this to go forward. Dillon is one of us, dude. He is a fuck. You know what I mean? One of the collective us of people who are kind of like, whether, you know, fighters or used to be fighters, talk about fight. Like, we know what is, I'm talking like he's a father who is in the combat sports community. And a billionaire is going to bankrupt him because he made fun of his fiance for shit she said and put on the internet. It's fucked. It's bullshit. Anyway, now let's move on to what Danis said. All right, so as we discussed earlier, Dillon Danis has thrown himself right back into the MMA community's news cycle by leaking some DMs between him and Ian Garry's wife from 2018. If you want to see that video, go ahead. It's the last one I posted. But this brings us to two different conversations, actually. One, where Dana today addressed whether or not he would sign Dillon Danis to the UFC on the Full Send podcast. We're going to review that clip. Let's jump right into it really quick. I won't make you wait. Let's watch the clip of Dana, and then we are going to talk about the status of the lawsuit and what Dana said. So let's watch this. Boop.
UFC. Is that something that you'd ever entertain?
I don't know. Do you think he should be? I heard he just retired.
Yeah, I know the UFC is all about like the best of the best. As a fan, I'd watch it.
The other thing with him is, and I have no beef with the kid at all. I've probably said 2 words to him in my whole life. Every time he's around, shit's going down. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of people will see like when guys get into it on stage or something starts to happen, they're like, oh, they must love this or whatever. No, we don't love it.
Dillon Danis in the
All
UFC.
right. So that's it. Pretty straightforward, right? So here is what I would say. I initially said the following after the Logan Paul numbers came out, right? I said, oh my God, they did 1.3 million pay-per-views. That is going to drastically change whatever analysis anyone's doing, because those are enormous numbers. Enormous pay-per-view numbers. And they happened because of Dillon Danis. That said, they came as the result of Dillon starting a lot of shit, man. Like, he started a lot of shit. And a lot of shit that led to lawsuit. Now, does anybody think the lawsuit's justified? Does anybody actually believe that? I guess you can leave it in the comments if you do. We'll talk about that in a second. But the other thing that Dana said is he's like, anytime the guy's around, there's always a bunch of shit getting started. Now, that's true, right? Like, we know the history of Dillon in, like, at these events. Like, he got into it with Ali Abdelaziz. He got into it with, I can't remember, someone else. And then, like, on the stage before the Logan Paul fight, Logan Paul throws a water bottle at him and he smashed him in the face with the microphone. Which I said when it happened, I was like, Jesus, man. That is reckless, dude. Like, like, a microphone is so heavy, dude. I can't even... he's a fighter. He knows what it means to hit a person with his fist, kick a person with his instep slap, or with his shin. Like, he knows the weight of a thing, swinging it at a person. Now, he might have just kind of snapped in the moment because he's a violent person, like all of these maniacs, or all of you maniacs also. But, like, I said when it happened, I'm like, there's no way that Dana and the UFC saw that and they were like, awesome, let's get him signed up. Because that could have killed Logan Paul. Bottom line, could have killed him, dude. You hit a guy with a microphone? Like, Jesus, dude. That was a crazy thing to do. And it's the kind of thing that a promoter's going to look at and go, geez, man, the guy's a live wire. That said, it's the fight business. Like, this is the fight business, man. At the end of the day, if it's me, right? Now, Dana didn't say no, right? He didn't say no. But if I were Dillon Danis, what I would be doing is I would be reaching out to Dana and telling him, like, look, man, if you give me reach out to him and just be like, look, if you give me an opportunity, I'm not going to do any of that shit. You're not going to have to worry about me spazzing out on someone on the stage. I will do whatever you tell me to do. If you tell me, keep my fucking hands off of the other fighter, or don't talk about this thing on the internet, like, I will be an employee of yours. Thus far, I've been operating totally independently. I didn't have a boss. I signed with you, put me on a what's it called? Like a test. What's the right word? Like oh my God. Like, where you test someone out, you bring in an intern and you're testing them out. Like, what's the, whatever, you guys understand what I'm saying. Test me out. Tell me what I can and can't do and see if I can control myself. Because I guarantee he can. Of course he can. Of course he can control himself. If he knows that if he doesn't do X, then he's not going to fight in the UFC, he'll keep it under control. The guy's not an idiot. You know what I mean? But that's what I would do if I was him. I would reach out to Dana directly and just tell him, okay, I hear what your concerns are. I understand, but I've been doing that stuff to hype my career. If you tell me I'm not allowed to do that, I won't do it. I just won't do it. I can build hype for a fight. Like, I don't need to do that stuff anymore. If someone says I'm fighting, then people are going to buy it now. It doesn't matter what I do. I don't need to do this shit anymore. Just tell me what you don't want me to do and I won't do it. That is what I would suggest that he does. And then also, he should find someone in the UFC that is in his weight class and create a conflict with them. And then also probably have Conor reach out to a couple people, since Conor has more juice than anybody. Although Conor is currently at war with the Irish government and is going to probably run for president. So that's what we got for the show today. And I appreciate all of you guys sticking with it all the way. If you watch 28 minutes of me, blah, 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 and you have not subscribed to the channel, come on, don't make my daughter cry. I love you guys. Bye-bye.